Game of the Year for 2023 just got a lot more interesting with the release of Marvel's Spider-Man 2 and Super Mario Bros. Wonder. So I wanted to give you guys an update on my picks for the Game Awards or the Keeley Awards Game of the Year and my own personal picks for Game of the Year so far at this point. I think some of the games might surprise you. But before we get into that, what's good everyone? OJ here. Welcome back to another video. Please make sure you hit that like button, subscribe if you're someone new, and click that notification bell to get the latest Nintendo Switch RPG news, Game of the Year discussions, live streams, and more first right here on the channel. Now let's go ahead and jump into it here. Let's talk about the Keeley Awards first and foremost. That goes down in December. This is the standardized Game Awards, at least in terms of what most people feel will be Game of the Year or crowned Game of the Year, since Keeley does get together all the different publications and they all have their own voters and they put them all together, in addition to the fans having a percentage of the sway or the vote in the Game Awards. So it's been something that's been happening for about 10 years now at this point, and Keeley's done a decent job at putting together something. Now there are still problems, there have been debacles, there are issues, but something with this much large-scale logistics is never going to be perfect, so I understand it. And it's still a fun time regardless, although many of the shows do feel like really long ads for various different products. But at the same time, I understand what Keeley is trying to do. Now let's go over the Game Awards picks, what I think are going to be picked as the 6 games, in addition to what I think will be the winner for the Keeley Awards. So this is for what the media thinks for the most part. Now let's start from the bottom to the top, and we're going to go with Marvel's Spider-Man 2. I think it makes the cut with its 91 Metacritic score. Next up would be Street Fighter 6. Yes, a fighting game is in there. I feel that it's going to just squeak in. It's got a 92 Metacritic score. It's advanced when it comes to its online play. It's got single player. It's got a lot of the features and things to advance the fighting game genre when it comes to major or AAA releases. And I think that it reviewed so favorably, you kind of have to put it up there. Although there have been games like Forza, for example, that did not make the cut a number of years ago despite having a really high Metacritic score. So that one could be out. You could replace it with something else, like maybe Final Fantasy, or for some people Starfield, but I do ultimately feel that Street Fighter 6 will make the cut. Next up is Resident Evil 4 Remake with its 93 Metascore, and some people feel that, wait a minute, this is a remake. There's no way that a remake can make the list. Well, that's not true. If you go back to 2019, Resident Evil 2 Remake made the Game of the Year list, and yes, it didn't win it from the Keeley Awards, but it still made the list, and many other websites had it as their Game of the Year for 2019. So you have to factor in that Resident Evil 4 Remake is rated just as highly. It's really good. People like the game, and they've added enough content in there to make it separate from the original release. Now, all of the characters and the gameplay for the most part are intact, but there's a host of additions, quality of life updates, obviously completely remade graphics, and extra little bits, different scene scenarios and things that happen that change up the formula just enough that it will make it into the Game of the Year nominations. Next up here is Super Mario Bros. Wonder, a game that released recently as of the time of me recording this video, with its 93 Metacritic score, and it's incredible. It's 2D Mario finally brought back to a way that we know 2D Mario. It's not the new Super Mario Bros. Series. It's not a Mario Maker type of game where you're reusing stuff that we've already seen. It's a completely new style of game, completely different format, completely different way when it comes to the power-ups and the abilities and what you do, the Wonder Seeds, the Wonder Flowers, all the different challenges, the badges. There's so many cool things that have been added into this game that really just make it incredible to play. Now, I've almost beat the game. I'm not quite there, but I've been playing so much, been trying to do all the special worlds and special challenges. The game is a beast when it comes to 2D Mario. It's not perfect when it comes down to it. There are some things here and there, but overall, this is by far the best 2D Mario game that I have played in recent memory, and it easily ranks with Super Mario World and Super Mario Bros. 3 as my favorite 2D Mario games of all time. After that, we've got Baldur's Gate 3 and its incredible 96 Metacritic score, one of the highest rated big games of the year, and rightfully so. The game is incredible. I have not checked it out just yet, but from everything that I've read, from everything that I've watched, Baldur's Gate 3 is absolutely an incredible game that does so many cool and innovative things within the RPG realm. It is that true PC style Dungeons and Dragons RPG of people's dreams, where there's so many scenarios, so many different dialogue options, so many different ways to go about combat and to do things, that it really creates a new style for so many people, to where a lot of gamers are out there saying, man, this is like the new standard, how a narrative driven old school PC RPG can play in modern times with great graphics. It took them a long time with Larian to get this game done, 6 years. There was like a beta a number of years ago, but they finally got the full version out on PC and recently on PlayStation, and it's doing incredibly well. It's selling even better than they thought that it would, and rightfully so. The game is amazing, and it's reflected in those incredible review scores. And last but definitely not least, The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, matching Baldur's Gate 3's Metacritic score with 96 as well. And once again, this is a game that has genre-defining abilities here. When you look at the different things that you can do in this game, you look at the creation system with how you're able to build all different types of things with the Zonai arm. You have the different abilities that Link has. You really have this sandbox for you to create and fight and do what you want. There's so many improvements over Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, which a lot of open world games haven't even matched that when it comes to what the physics in that game are, and they took it to the next level with The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. They still have all of the great stuff that was in the game previously, like the climbing anywhere and the freedom and the amount of weapons and combat, but it's just been taken to a whole new level. You have the fuse ability that's incredibly cool, allowing you to fuse different things in order to combat or even make your own vehicles and everything. So to me, The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, with what they did with the gameplay first and foremost, and all of the quality of life options over The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, absolutely deserves that 96 Metacritic score and will be one of the nominations for Game of the Year. All right, so those are the nominations, but let's get into what I think the media will ultimately end up picking for Game of the Year. And this one might be a shocker to some, but it's going to be Baldur's Gate 3. And let me give you a number of reasons why it's going to be Baldur's Gate 3. I think that with Baldur's Gate 3, it's not a reiteration on what we've done, right? It's something that for many gamers, for many in the media, said this is a completely new style. Although it's Baldur's Gate 3, the previous ones are quite a bit different when it comes down to it, and this is something completely new. I think it's going to get more points within the media for that, although Tears of the Kingdom will probably be played by more people in the media and liked by more people in the media, just because it's Zelda and it's a sequel to one of the highest rated games of all time and a previous winner with The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. I still feel that the media will opt to pick Baldur's Gate 3 over The Legend of Zelda, and that's pretty much what this is down to. It's down to Baldur's Gate 3 versus The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, and I think that since Breath of the Wild already won it, and this is an iteration off of Breath of the Wild, still doing incredible new things that many other RPGs, many other open world games just simply aren't going to do because of the time that it takes and what you need to calculate with the physics and everything, with the fuse abilities and the ascend and all the different stuff that you can do there. I get that, but I think that Baldur's Gate 3, just for the media, when it comes to what they're looking for, I think they're going to go with that game over Tears of the Kingdom. Now, let's get into my own personal picks for Game of the Year when it comes to my nominations so far. Now, this can change. We still have Star Ocean that's coming out. We still have Super Mario RPG that's coming out. So there are still a couple of other big games. So starting off here, I'm going to mention two games that are essentially tied when it comes down to it for me, and that is Octopath Traveler 2 and Sea of Stars. Both of them incredible classic style RPGs. Octopath Traveler 2 has incredible storytelling, great graphics, and it's into a phenomenal combat system. While Sea of Stars is just that classic RPG that reminds me of the old school favorites like Chrono Trigger, like Breath of Fire and all that. And heck, so does Octopath Traveler 2 at times, but it's got its own new flair. So I had to kind of put both of those. I wanted to pick 6 games, but I actually had to have 7 because I'm not sure which one I like more at this point. Next up is Fire Emblem Engage. I know some of you guys might be surprised with this pick. I absolutely love the game. Yes, there are some quirks with the story and certain things like that, but the combat is by far the best in the Fire Emblem series. Best UI, best graphics, it has incredible music, great remixes. The game is solid all the way around, and I just love me some good strategy RPG combat. I think Fire Emblem Engage ticks all of those boxes for me, and I really enjoyed the game despite some of its shortcomings here and there. Next up is Xenoblade Chronicles 3 Future Redeemed, and while this is not an individual game that you can play by itself just because of how heavily tied it is to Xenoblade Chronicles 3, in addition to the rest of these Xenoblade games, it's still an incredible expansion that honestly deserves way more love than it got. It's a 92 on the Metacritic score, but not enough people voted it to get a Metacritic must play, Metacritic must buy type of game. And honestly, if more people did give it a shot, it would have gotten that because it really is that good. It has the best combat in any Xenoblade game, in my opinion. It's the fastest paced, it's the most fluid, it's got all sorts of modifiers and cool things that you can do to customize your combat. It's almost addition by subtraction when it comes to Xenoblade Chronicles 3 versus Future Redeemed, as they've removed all the different extra type of heroes and stuff and kind of put it more focused in terms of your own crew. And I think it really lends well to the pacing of the game because it's an expansion, it's not super long. Really lends well to the pacing in addition to the combat options. There's still a lot of content in here despite it not being anywhere near the size of a regular Xenoblade game. I put about 50 hours into this title, so there's still plenty of content, and it has the best quality of life features by far of like any major RPG that I've played. These quality of life features are incredible in terms of tracking, the Collectopedia, Beastopedia, all this stuff that we've been wanting for Xenoblade games to be intact is finally here. So thankfully that goes into the next Monolith Soft game, but Xenoblade Chronicles 3 Future Redeemed is absolutely incredible. The story is just something that you need to experience to really believe what they were able to do, tying in so many Xenoblade games all throughout the history. I mean, it's just that good. So I had to have it on my top games of the year list. Next up is Super Mario Bros. Wonder. I talked about this as one of the games that will be in the media voted game of the year for the Keeley Awards. It's absolutely one of my top games as well. It's an incredible experience, incredible 2D Mario game, and honestly, there's nothing more that I can say outside of it deserves a Game of the Year nomination and absolutely is in the top running for my own Game of the Year as well. And last but absolutely not least, once again, is The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, which we did talk about already at length. It's an incredible experience. I love the game so much, but we can only pick one winner for my Game of the Year, and it's going to be Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. I think that Tears of the Kingdom, once again, to me, really broke my expectations when it comes to what they did with the combat. Now, I know for some people, story didn't live up to what they were wanting or liking, or there's some plot holes here and there. I never really played Zelda games for the in-game story. The lore is always cool and trying to put it into the timelines and the different stuff that happens with the races in the game, and I always find that stuff very fascinating, but the in-game stories have always been somewhat lackluster to kind of like, all right, it's cool, it's there for me. And I feel that with this game, it's kind of like that as well. I just like the lore and the characters. It's all about the combat and gameplay to me. That's what it was for The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, and that's what it is here for me with The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. Like I stated before, all of the updates, the fusing system, the ascend, the different mechanics, the Zonai arm is just really cool, and there's so many different things. I love the underground and the sky areas being able to kind of have even more freedom, but it's also seamless as well with no loading screens. You can simply go from one place to another all the way up into the sky, all the way down below, and it all runs fairly good for the most part with some dips here and there. But the fact that they're able to get this game running as good as it was and get this game looking as good as it does with the sheer size of it is just, once again, incredible in terms of the Zelda team, Monolith Soft, getting that done. So for me, Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom is the game of the year so far. So Baldur's Gate for the media pick, and Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom for my own personal pick. Now, what are your picks for game of the year? I would love to see you guys' list. What are your front runners? What do you think is going to make it for the Keeley Awards? What are your own personal? There's a lot to go over, so sound off in the comment section below. All right, guys, that wraps it up for this video here. Thank you so much for watching. I do appreciate it. Please make sure you hit that like button, subscribe if you're someone new, click that notification bell, and check out my other Nintendo Switch RPG videos and more right here on screen, like my top 25 Nintendo Switch RPGs and my top 25 Nintendo Switch indie games as well. Thanks for watching. We'll see you for the next one. Peace.